Matt, how
Billy,
glad to be here at the AI Revenue Summit with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be here with you and your team.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We're gonna dive into a lot. You guys are doing some really interesting things at Regie.ai with AI, and we want to dive into that a little bit. But Jenny did a great job teeing us up. But for those of you that don't know, Matt is really one of the OGs when it comes to B2B sales. He's been in B2B sales before I was even born, and I'm not that old, but I'm not that young either. Um, and he's been at T-Mobile, Outreach. Now you're El Presidente or President, however you want to say it. There at Regie.ai, and really excited to get your insights. But first, can you just tell us maybe if I missed anything that you want to add about yourself, add it in, and then tell us what Regie.ai is for those that don't know.
Yeah, happy to string that all together. So first of all, welcome everybody. I started selling back in 1987, so that OG. So that was before corporate email in the internet. My tech stack was a desk phone and a fax machine. But I've had a front row seat to the infusion of technology into the selling process. And one of the things that you start to see is that technology does two things. Thing number one is technology can solve problems. And thing number two is sometimes technology creates problems. When I was leading revenue at Outreach, for the first time in my career, content was a problem for modern salespeople. And what I mean by that, we were getting reliant on sequenced emails, template emails, and at the same time, personalization was going away because of a reliance on templates. And organizations winning and losing, largely reflected their ability to figure out how to sequence. And it used to be a people problem. Somebody inside the organization had to do it. You had to outsource it. And that's when we started thinking, how do we go solve this problem for the modern sales team?
I like it. Okay, so how do we solve that problem?
Yeah, so Regie.ai was born 2.5 years ago. I like to say we were doing AI before AI was cool. We were literally doing AI before you could string a sentence together. So we train and tune our own models. But long and the short of it is this. The first problem that we solved was writing high engaging sequences and cadences using AI and industry best practices to take a process that would take hours or days, compress that to minutes, push that into the sales engagement platform, and allow content teams to provide really great messaging for frontline teams. That was the first problem that we solved. Then customers came to us and said, hey, we got our sequences, our reps need help in the task flow. We've got manual email tasks, we've got LinkedIn touches, we've got calls. So, Reggie started generating contextual call scripts at the sequence level. Reggie started creating LinkedIn content for in-mails and connection requests. And I think most importantly is we brought personalization to life at scale. And we did that in a couple ways. If you think about, what salespeople are doing in terms of writing a personal email, I've seen this firsthand. Number one, you got to go do a bunch of research on somebody. That takes time. You got to figure out how to find something interesting and relevant and tie that back to why you want to speak to them. And then you got to construct an email out of it. That can take 15 to 25 minutes to get it right. And we can do that in seconds. In fact, I can show you that a little bit later.
Yeah.
In fact, what Reggie can do today with our Rapid Writer feature is any manual email task in Outreach or SalesLoft. As that email comes up in your taskbar, Reggie's going to recognize your prospect. It'll write a personalized email at the prospect level, utilizing the messaging that's threaded throughout your sequence or cadence. It's going to do that in seconds. You hit send and move on to your next task. So we're revolutionizing the way that sales reps can think about personalizing, think about the way they do tasks. But look, Billy, in the end, none of this matters if reps aren't winning more, driving higher engagement, and quite frankly, driving a better process for the prospects in the process.
Agreed. Agreed. So tell me, you were using, this was around before Chat GPT blew up, and
Yeah.
you're not using Chat GPT like a lot of the AI tools now. Like they're plugging in, nothing wrong with that, but that's how they work.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think are the best ways for, just stepping back from Regie AI, but what are the best ways that sales teams should be using AI? How do they use it to really get the most out of it for them?
Yeah, I think the best way to answer that question is to contrast the story to chat, since you brought chat up. And by the way, the chat models aren't tunable, so like we can generate better output with our fine-tuned models. Now, all that being said, I think there's 4 reasons that you should use a vertically focused product like Regie instead of a horizontal application layer like a chat.
Okay.
When you show up to chat, chat doesn't know who you are. Chat doesn't know your job. Chat doesn't know your brand voice, your company's guidelines on messaging.
Yeah.
So, the reason some speakers, like the last speaker, talked about like all this prompt engineering and prompt stacking is because every time you use chat, you have to inform it to everything that you need to do. So number one is like you have to prompt engineer. Regie makes that go away. Regie, like number one, you don't have to go out to chat. Regie works with you in your sales engagement platform, in your email inbox. It's with you in LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. So you don't have to go anywhere to use Regie. Number two is you don't have to tell Regie what you're doing. Regie intuitively knows the workflow you're in.
Yeah.
And it's going to provide you with sales ready output. Period. Like there's no prompting.
Yeah.
So if you're doing prospecting, introduction emails, it knows that. It'll provide that. If you're in LinkedIn and doing a certain task, like it knows that. So, Regie's built into your workflow, and it's because it's vertically oriented. The third, as I mentioned, is you're getting sales ready output, that you can trust. And think of that in 2 dimensions. One dimension is, the admins of the Regie platform are setting up all of the personalization guidelines, the brand voice, and the message is threaded. So it's not a one-off email. So if this is a manual task inside of a sequence or a cadence, the message is threaded and personalized. It's contextual. And then lastly, what you're not getting in a chat is the managers have no idea what the reps are doing. And Reggie's going to give the managers a full-on dashboard where we can take a look at the rep activity, the quality, the quantity, and all the way down to the impacts. Okay. So I think when thinking about how to use AI, like one, I would recommend you use something that is vertically oriented for whatever role you're in, not something that's horizontally layered that needs a bunch of prompting to figure out who you are and what you're doing.
Okay. Well, I like that. I mean, it makes sense to just be like, okay, let's pick a tool that's engineered for the problem we're trying to solve, rather than just take a general tool, and then you're going to spend a lot of time, like a lot of our speakers today have shown us. It takes a lot of skill to make that work. It's not just a plug and play. Whereas something that's like, hey, we're going to use AI for this use case, a lot easier for you to just jump in and put your frontline guys on it.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, with that, we wanted to dive in and just see a little bit of how it works with Regie AI. So let's take a look at the product a little bit. And if you just want to walk us through, let's go through a couple of use cases.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And everybody should be looking at my email inbox. Don't laugh at my 28,000 unread messages. I'll respond to everyone on here, though. But what you're seeing is I've addressed an email to Billy, which is no different than we do, whether this is in our engagement platform, whether this is a message to Billy in LinkedIn. And what you'll see is Regie immediately sees anybody in the to line, anybody in the CC line. So what's most important is Billy shows up. I get to see a lot about Billy, and I'll show you a few dimensions, but right off the bat, I'm getting all this information, his about section, his work history, education, volunteering. And if you think about the way reps personalize, they're looking for clues. They're looking to learn about Billy and get something relevant. So I've got all of this here. I can go deeper. I can look at the organization. I can look at signals. I have direct access to all the social feeds. information on the company, and then depending what you sell, some people want to look at the technographics, some people want to look at who are they hiring as an example, because these are all clues to help me sell better as I'm prospecting. I can look at Billy's LinkedIn feed as an example and see what he's posting about. A lot of hiring and posting. I can go into the company's news podcast. I can even go into CRM if part of my personalization is going into CRM and looking at past engagements. Am I looking if he's an existing customer for an upsell or cross-sell? What was his last interaction with our support group as an example? So I have access to all of these personalization points. Now, before I jump in and write some amazing personalization in seconds, the other thing that we serve up, because like today, I was on the phone with Billy, or you're making your cold calls, is we want to make sure that we always put our best foot forward on that initial interaction. So we're going to provide communication advice before you make that phone call, before you attend that meeting. So I'm going to get all of these communication inputs on Billy. So some of the key traits on his personality, and then some conversation and communication do's and don'ts. I'm going to get all that ahead of time. And some teams train their reps on DISC personality or ocean profiles. I'm going to get that right here. And this is where you're figuring out, do I tell stories to Billy? Do I just get right to the point? Does he like facts and figures and data? Like, these are all those clues. So as you're interrupting their day, you can be as relevant as possible, the highest chance of creating and maintaining rapport. So pause here for a second, just in case we want to take a breath. But let's do this. Let's actually create some messaging. Now,
do it.
Now, you see the about section. So I always say selling is like a crime scene. There's clues everywhere, and we just want to slow down. Now, if you weren't using Regie, I'd have to have your LinkedIn profile open, your company website open. I'd have to go to Google News and any other place to go find, but it's all right here. But if I go show more, I got some really good information here. And at the end, like your love of fishing and hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And then also your volunteering. Now, why is this so important? Well, if I'm going to personalize something to Billy, anyone can talk about the company, anyone can talk about the job. But if I talk to Billy about how he spends his volunteer time or his social time, what he loves to do, I am more likely to stand out in the inbox if I can capitalize on that research. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to click create personalized message. And Reggie's going to walk you through a 3x3 workflow. So we're going to pick like 3 points of relevant information. So I'll take your current role as 1 point. I can speak about your company's about. Let's see what's here. We can do that. And then for third, I'll do custom. So I'll reference Billy's love of hunting as an example. It's personal. And I'm just going to go next. Now, to make this relevant, I want to talk to Billy about better sales messaging. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can either have Regie generate an intro line, a rapport bridge, if there's a template that you have your team using, or write the whole email. And this is where it gets really powerful. Like, the organization builds out. You've heard all these speakers talk about prompting. All the prompting is done in the background. So we have our default prompt, which knows that I'm prospecting to Billy on an introduction email. I've got a humorous prompt that I prefer to use, but depending on the personality. So I'm going to look for clues on Billy's profile and which prompt to use. I can have one that's got a strong call to action. If I'm doing an inbound workflow, I've got an inbound prompt. So it's just easy for me just to select the one I want to use. I don't do any prompting. I just select what I'm doing. And if that wasn't enough, I can do this in one of 36 different languages. So we have a number of international teams or teams with folks over in EMEA or APAC. So we can do any language. And I'll just go generate. And what Reggie's going to do instantly is write 3 different emails, one based on Billy's current role, one based on the about section of Billy's company, and then one based on his love of hunting. And you can see, and it's got a humorous tone. We can go back and do a more serious tone as well.
Yeah.
But you can see this is his co-founder role right here. And they're all going to have a humorous tint to them. but I'll go ahead and just select this one for a moment and drop it right in. It was that easy. Now I walked us through, but you can literally do this in 37 seconds, which could take some reps 15 to 25 minutes. So you're thinking about how do I spend more of my day personalizing more of my messaging? We just showed you that. We just showed you how and by the way, this is the hardest way to do it, Reggie. There's two other ways that we make it even easier that we can talk through in a moment. But what's really cool is we can come in, and at any point in time, any rep can always take a look at how great what they're producing is. And Reggie's going to benchmark everything it writes against industry best practices. So you're going to know if you're asking enough questions, are you spending too much time talking about yourself? We found a spam word in here. So depending on how we're using this, the context here wouldn't be spam, but it's catching that. And then you'll notice there's no subject line. So we'll just hit a subject line generator, and Reggie's AI is optimized to generate engagement. Billy's not going to recognize Matt Millen as a sender. So all of the weight of the engagement is going to fall upon the subject line as an interrupt, and then the quality and the contextual nature of that visible first line. So we're going to do that.
Let me pause you for a second. What I love about this is, I'm not the sales leader, but sales rolls up to me, and man, sales guys, it's easy for them to fall into the trap of spending a lot of time personalizing each email. And I think personalization matters, but there's also, you got to get through it. It's also a numbers game in sales as well. And this lets you still personalize, but it's very quick. Like you can do this in 2 minutes rather than sometimes I've seen guys, they spend 2 hours working on one email because they think this is the perfect email,
And not only that, Billy, but then they share it with the team to get validation, and now the whole team's got downtime on that one email.
They're all distracted.
Exactly why we built the So let me do this. Let me just show you like another way to personalize that's even faster. Like if that wasn't fast enough, at every time that the Chrome extension comes up at the prospect level, you'll see this blue box. That's our Rapid Writer feature. Now, I don't sell to co-founders, so all of my personas are much more sales leader oriented.
Yeah.
But let's just say for a moment that Billy was the head of growth, which is one of the personas I sell to. The minute that the email comes up, Rapid Writer looks at the prospect, matches the prospect, and already writes the emails. And those emails are based on all the rules and the guidelines that your company wants. So the company's going to go in on the back end and say for sequence or cadenced emails, it's going to tie into the messaging thread. And by the way, we're going to pull the personalization from these data sources in this order. This is the way we're going to structure the email. This way we'll structure the subject line. All done. So if I just go view the emails, Reggie's going to generate those right away, but they're all written the exact way. So look at this. So Notice Signals is emphasizing AI and ChatGPT in your upcoming revenue summit. Look what it captured right away. Like this isn't going to get your attention.
Yeah.
And this was automatically generated to you based on what you're talking about socially.
Yeah, this is great.
And I could just drop that one right in. I'll regenerate the subject line because when I generate a subject line, Reggie reads the email and generates a contextual subject line. And look at that. That's going to stand out your inbox. This is exactly what you're talking about right now in the email. So I'm going to be able to get your attention and start that engagement. This is what we're designed to do. Help reps win more.
I love it. I love it. So give us some more best practices. If somebody's using Regie.ai and you put your team on it or an AI tool like this, is it best just to use that rapid email, creating the personas? Like, how do you set your team up for success with this type of AI tool?
That's such a good question. I just got asked yesterday by a prospect, like what's best? Here's the way I think about it at the highest level. At the highest level, many organizations have SMB teams, mid-market or commercial teams, and enterprise teams. So It's not a one-size-fits-all. And like the prospect loads are different, the amount of work you're doing. So if you're doing like SMB, where there's like thousands of potential prospects, and you really like leverage Rapid Writer. Like why spend the extra time? You can increase the amount of personalization. And by the way, there's one more level that's even faster we haven't gotten to yet. For your ABM, your account-based selling, for your highest level, do the 3x3. Take a minute, do a little bit of research, be part of the research process, and then do that. So I would say, like, for your enterprise teams or ABM, account-based selling, where you're spending a little bit more time, there's fewer higher level, more important prospects, spend the couple minutes, not the 25 minutes or 2 hours, but literally the couple minutes, and use our 3x3 workflow. And then we've got one more feature. So we've got the 3x3 workflow, which, for account-based selling. We've got Rapid Writer, like literally was that quick. It just wrote the emails. We just chose one if that wasn't quick enough. Yeah. We also launched Autopilot. What Autopilot does, it does this automatically. It literally will do this automatically. So instead of looking at the 3 emails and selecting one, like Regie will take every email that goes out as part of that sequence and do this, write a personalized email, thread it into the sequence at the prospect level. And then we're only serving up the task for the rep. So when there's engagement, when there's a signal, we'll serve up the call task, we'll serve up, and we do it dynamically. And the beauty of this, Billy, is this. In the old day, I would put you in a sequence, and I would put 200 other people in a sequence, regardless of their engagement, their interest, their intent, their previous activity with my company. And everybody goes through the same 17 steps over 24 days. And your reps are spending as much time on the manual task for somebody that's likely to opt out as they are that someone that's super interested. With our Autopilot feature, what we do is we start pushing personalized content to all of your prospects at the same time. And then the ones that have signals of engagement, interest, or intent, we amplify the activity through tasks for the rep. And the ones that don't, we don't. Like, don't burn out people that aren't ready. So what you find is that your reps now have more qualified engagement with the right prospects at the right time with the right messaging, just like I demonstrated on the messaging, how timely it was. And what this is going to do, it's going to lead to not only higher engagement for your rep, but the other thing that we're seeing is that your prospect sentiment scores are going up because the messaging is more relevant and you're not pummeling the people that don't want to hear from you.
I like it. It makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if we have any questions from anybody, but we still have some time left. Do we have any questions? If there are any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll keep going. But I'd love to see what other people want to know about this. But one question I had for you is, like, let's take a step back maybe from Regie.ai and think a little bit about AI in the future of this. This is more of an SDR role that we're looking at, but I think more people are going to a full cycle AE. A lot of companies in the current economic environment realizing, hey, this SDR AE, the economics just don't make sense for smaller deals. I've talked to companies where they're selling $99 a month plans, and they've had SDRs in the past, and I didn't know how it was working then, but the VC money has dried up and they got to get profitable. So they're moving more to a full cycle. This seems like a tool that, if you're putting your reps into more of that full cycle motion, can really help you get the most out of them, or this kind of tool to get the most out of your reps, allow them to leverage technology to replace that SDR role more or less.
By the way, we can stop sharing the screen now so we get a bigger picture of Billy, because he's more fun to look at than my inbox. So we can.
I don't know about that. But what are some other things that you're seeing that outside of Regie.ai, but other tools that you're seeing? They're like, you know what, this is making a lot of sense to help revenue teams grow.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing are, like, how are we practically using the technology today? dialers are in fashion right now. I see a lot of organization invest in like some form of power dialing or speed dialing to provide more tasks. I think the phone's back for many organizations. The phone's back for many organizations. Personalization is paramount. Those are the two overarching trends that I'm seeing right now where modern teams are focused. Personalizing as much of the touch points as they can and providing their team additional superpowers over the phone. I'm seeing that pretty consistently.
I like it. We got a question coming in through the chat, and we got time to hit this one up before we have to hand it off. But it says, what challenges do businesses typically face when trying to integrate an AI tool, and how can they overcome them?
So first of all, really good question. I think I'll answer it slightly more broadly because this is a topic that comes up a lot, which is I think the overall challenge that most sales organizations have in rolling anything out is the change management piece. Like, are you asking your reps to do something different? And how do we get them to do that? Like, there's so much technology that's just poorly adopted and partly adopted. And I think this comes back. My advice is this, we recommend doing a POV or a proof of concept with almost every one of our ops to make sure that, number one, we fit into the rep workflow. Number two, the reps will want to use it. Like, do we really make it quick, easy, and fun like we say we do? And then they get the result. And I think just too much technology requires too much change. And it's why we've put so much focus into the user experience. So Regie exists where you exist, does what you need it to do, and as automatically as your team needs it to be automatic. So either you're seeing it happen, not seeing it happen, or part of the process. We've literally served up all three varieties based on teams' ability to incorporate new technology despite the impact it makes on the business. So change management always is a consideration in rolling anything out.
I agree on that. We try to do the same thing with our software. We do a lot of, we call them proof of concepts. Let's make sure it works for you. But the marketers, they're always all in on how to use it, and we've had to spend a lot of time figuring out for the sales users of our product, how do we make this easy, light lift for those guys to get the information they need, to engage when they need to as well. And then with G2, I was seeing one of their not a study, but kind of the state of the industry they released. One of the things they mentioned was for small to medium-sized businesses, even more than price, they cared about the ease of implementation and adoption. So, all right, Matt, this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing. If you like what you've seen, it's not meant to be a total demo, but we wanted to show you guys some of the products that are out there that you can use as part of this summit. It will change from how we've done things in the past. Go check out Regie.ai. What's the best way for people to engage with you if they want to continue the conversation?
Yeah, awesome. Two things. One, if you do go to www.regie.ai, you can download it for free. You can use it for free.
Sweet.
There's a free version, a little bit of Regie every month for free. Please connect with me. I'm Matt Millen on LinkedIn. Love to have the conversation. My favorite thing is to talk shop.
Okay. Awesome, Matt. Thank you so much. And I know we've got James from Flip and Scott from Chronologic up next. I think they're our last live sessions. So excited to hear from those guys. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Cheers.